Hey everyone, this is Elise from Cycle 9. So the other day I mentioned I was reading this book called How to Live Well Without Owning a Car by Chris Baelish. And I thought I would share with you just a couple more things that I found kind of interesting from the book. And in the book he talks a lot about how to get to work and back without a car, which is a big concern for most people and probably the main thing people think about. And whether or not that's a doable jump for you, the other aspect of owning a car is the non-work related car trips, many of which are very short because most of us live relatively small number of miles from where we might shop or visit friends or do things like that. And so a lot of these might be possible to eliminate car trips. And here's a few general strategies that he suggests for eliminating car trips on these non-work related trips. So the first one is eliminate unnecessary trips. So this is in the realm of, when I get an urge for ice cream at the end of the day after dinner, is it really necessary to drive 3 miles to the grocery store just to pick up a pint of ice cream? That's one question that I think we could probably ask ourselves before we make that trip. So, and there's also another aspect to eliminating unnecessary trips, which is actually one of the other things he mentions. He mentions it farther down, which is plan ahead and stock up. And in that realm, it's okay, instead of going to the grocery store every other day to get 10 or 12 things, actually think for a few minutes at the beginning of the week and do a bigger trip once a week. This is something I actually started doing recently, and not just because of biking, but because of my time management. I just found I was spending a lot of time every day running to the store to get milk or to get bread or to get, something that I forgot to get the day before, and I just didn't want to do those trips every day. I was like, oh, I'm wasting all this time. So instead, I spend a few minutes on Sunday thinking about what we want to eat for that week, making a list, and then actually going to the store on Sunday or Monday to do a bigger shopping trip to get whatever we need for the week. And occasionally I have to, I have to go and get milk or a few things, but it's really eliminated a lot of those little trips that I probably was doing anyway and were wasting my time and also just wasting energy for driving the car or doing the bike or however you get there. So eliminating unnecessary trips and also planning ahead so that you have what you need on hand is a great way to reduce some of these smaller car trips that we all take. As far as what are the alternatives, now the alternatives would be biking, walking, taking public transit. Depending on where you live, you may even be able to go with a friend, carpooling, or take a cab if you live in the city, for instance, late at night, or maybe some other alternatives like that. But for a lot of trips, actually 50% of trips that were taken in the U.S. last year were less than 3 miles in length. So that's a pretty small trip, and definitely a doable distance for a bike or public transit if that's available. And even if that's a difficult 3 miles, adding the electric assist really makes it almost a no-brainer for a lot of reasons in terms of how much energy it takes us personally to go that distance. So what are the alternative ways to get around? And related to that, find closer alternatives for the things you need. Instead of driving to Costco, which is probably a good half-an-hour drive for me, and stocking up there, can I get most of that kind of stuff at my local grocery store instead at a reasonable cost? And generally the answer is yes. So I still go to Costco, but I only go once every other month or so, and I stock up on whatever it is that we eat there, that we stock up on. But it's really not worth it for me to drive that far when I can find most of what I need right here closer to home. Likewise, what restaurants are close to your home? You know, what other alternatives are there for shopping? I find that as I've gone more and more to riding a bike, even going over to the other side of Chapel Hill, which is only about 4 or 5 miles from downtown Carborough, where I live and work. It's only a few miles, but it seems really far away because I really don't have a reason to go over there very often. Most of what I need is available closer to where I live and work, and so I rarely go over there. Occasionally I'll go over there, you know, once a month or something like that, and I'll hit all the stores on that side of the town that I don't normally go to. But I think there's a lot of alternatives closer to you if you look around, and that might be something to investigate. And the last strategy that he mentions, which I totally agree with, is be creative and stay flexible. I mean, the country is built around the automobile right now, but there's a lot of ways that we don't have to use it. We don't have to use our car, and if we are a little bit creative and flexible and don't stress out about stuff too much, it really makes life easier and a little bit more enjoyable. So I think that's a key to, especially if you actually go to not owning a car. Now, just eliminating car trips, you still have the option of a car, you know, for those times when you really need it. But if you actually go the whole step of getting rid of a car, then creativity and flexibility will come into play at some point when you need it. So just a few more tips from Chris Bailish's book, How to Live Well Without Owning a Car, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. Comment on my blog below at cycle9.com, or you can always follow us on Twitter, tweet us at cycle9, or become a fan on Facebook. See you tomorrow.